everybody. I'm Daniel G. Garza, and welcome to a special episode of Put It Together live stream. It is Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. And no, you can't see my t-shirt. Okay, there we go. And it is a very special, you can't read it, there you go. It's a very special episode today. I know most of you say like it's always a special episode, but today is a super duper special episode. Not only do I have some really great guests with me today, it is also my A birthday. I turned 16 today, and no, I'm not going to cry. Stop it. I'm not going to cry. But it is a very emotional kind of day. It's 16 years in the making to get here. June 21st, 2007, I walked into Bay Area Recovery Center in Dickinson, Texas, completely broken, not knowing where my life was going, hooked on drugs and alcohol, and just a complete mess. And 3 months later, I walked out, and during that, call it my summer, it was summer camp. During that summer camp, the brothers and the folks at Bay Area Recovery Center completely broke me down. They knocked down every wall I had, and they helped me build me back up in the way that I wanted to be the best man I possibly can. I was 36 years old, and I totally believe that that was the summer I became a man. And I will forever be grateful to Bay Area Recovery Center for all they did for me, and to all the folks out there. So for anybody who's watching this, who has or is in a recovery center at the moment, thank you for watching. If you're going through the process, keep going. 16 years, it's a lot of work, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm pretty proud of myself. I've worked really hard to get here. And not to mention the fact that I was on drugs for 16 years, and now I've been sober and clean and sober for 16 years. So I'm right there in the balance of it all. So anyway, the feelings are all there, folks. Let me just say the feelings are all there. So just the universe, what the universe does, it made it possible that a couple of weeks ago, I connected with a couple of guys who are launching their own recovery home. And I was like, well, let me interview you. And if I'm going to interview you, why don't I interview you on my birthday? And I asked them, like, would you please be my birthday gift? And they agreed, and they're here. So I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to bring them on and introduce them. Hello.
Hi. Good morning. Happy
Good
birthday.
morning. Happy birthday. 16 is a huge number. I only have 5 years of sobriety, so I have a whole hand. I'll catch up. Don't worry.
Yeah. I would say I'll be waiting for you, but no, I'll be further ahead, hopefully.
You will.
So we have Joey Bachrach and Andrew Fox from Rainbow Hills Sober Living. Thank you so much for being my special birthday interview.
Thank you for having us.
As always, we'd like to tell the folks watching how I met them. Well, I have to send out a big shout out to our friend. I'm going to butcher his last name.
Keon. We have.
Thank you.
Yes, Andy.
The Spanish kicks in. I'm like, yo no sé cómo decir eso. So Andy reached out to me a while back saying, hey, I saw your article on Sober Curator. And so a big hello to everybody over at Sober Curator, all my fellows there. And would you write an article? And I was like, well, I'm not really an article writer, but I can interview people. And then we had this really great Zoom meeting where we ended up talking for like an hour, and it was just awesome. And I really like these guys. So I was like, why don't you come on my show and talk? So here we are. So Andy, if you're watching, I hope you're watching. Big hello over there to you. So tell us a little bit about you before we start. I didn't have the bio, and I didn't read. I'm sorry, I got so excited. I didn't read about your facilities. So I'm gonna let you take it away. Tell us about Rainbow Hills Sober Living and where we are now, right?
Perfect. Okay, so Rainbow Hills Sober Living was opened 2 years ago. Andrew and I were not married at the time. We are now. So I have a husband, which is great. So 2 years ago, we opened Rainbow Hill Sober Living specifically for members of our community who are LGBT specific when it comes to a sober living. We found out very quickly that when they were promised something at an LGBT friendly house, that's not necessarily what they were getting. So they were intentionally misgendered or they were called homophobic slurs. So what Andrew and I did was we took it upon ourselves to open and create a safe environment for members of our community who are sober and doing really well, and they've become our sober children. And now fast forward 2 years, almost to the day, we started our second baby, so to speak. And Rainbow Hill Recovery officially opened on Monday, the 12th. So we've been open for a week. And like our home, Rainbow Hill Recovery is for members of our community who are actively working a program and wanting to better their lives and stay sober. So very happy about that.
Nice. So can we start, before we get into the whole story, how did you two meet?
Okay, well,
Work, real estate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how Andrew and I met. It was March 23rd, 2016. I remember it was my first day as an agent, and Andrew and I were both, well, sober, but I was a nervous new agent, and Andrew had been doing it for a couple of years, and started off as friends. And you know how the old tale goes. I played hard to get for a year. He was quite persistent and very patient. And fast forward to a year into us being friends, that's when we started dating. And then April 27th of this year, we exchanged vows and got married. So yeah, it's been a good adventure. And we're excited for this next chapter together.
cool. Classic story of boy meets boy, and I'll show you my foyer if you show me your kitchen.
Yeah.
And we've always worked together, so it's just, and we've always worked together doing what we love. And so this is just the next chapter in our life that has actually been the most rewarding.
Nice.
So it's great to give back and start helping and working with our peers, and it's wonderful.
Cool. So let me read the mission for Rainbow Hill Sober Living. Located in the tranquil hills of Echo Park, Rainbow Hill Sober Living is a home for men who have started the journey of sobriety and who identify as gay, transgender, or LGBTQ+. The dedicated staff members of Rainbow Hill provide a quality, supportive living environment that gets results. We are committed to creating for each of the residents a foundation from which to launch a new life, one that includes a continuing commitment to a sober lifestyle. Each resident at Rainbow Hill receives individual attention from the experienced and caring staff. Each resident becomes an integral part of building a community and in turn contributes his unique individuality to the community. At Rainbow Hill, sobriety thrives. Residents gain the tools required to live a dynamic life free from addiction. The residents find refuge, comfort, and relaxation in a charming home with beautiful front and back gardens located in a highly desirable area of Los Angeles. Hey, I'm there. Like, take me there. Like,
you'll have to come and visit, and we'll give you.
I'll go back through treatment.
Yeah,
just to be there. I'm addicted to chocolate. Does that count?
Sure.
So let's get started with the story. So Joey and Andrew, how do you put it together?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you've had time to look at the photos of the house online, but the house was built in 1901, and previously it was an Airbnb that was being completely run down, and the house was in our family. So we did the whole renovation in, what was it, 6 weeks, I think, before we officially opened. So each room has their own unique name. Like there's the Nemo room, which is the orange and white one. Originally, we wanted to call it Orange Creamsicle, but we thought that would be a little too sexually charged, so we switched it to Nemo. Then there's Tootie, which is pink and blue and polka dots. And then there's Oasis, which is like a desert vibe kind of thing. And then the Retro room, which is just retro. So yeah, we just really wanted to create a home that was fun, colorful, someplace that you wanted to be. And then we were inspired by wanting to make it into like a I don't like the word influencer house, but we wanted to show that sobriety should be fun, and our home needed to not be sterile. So, like, I would probably have to say something that's unique about our home specifically is that we don't have a time period on how long someone's able to stay. We're not a revolving door. If someone wants to stay for 6 months, great. We've had residents who are on their second year, and those who do stay longer, it's because they're sober, they're working a program, they're employed. Some residents are volunteering if they aren't able to work, which is totally fine. Drag queens, singers, dancers. I mean, we've got a really cool bunch. Artists,
photographers.
Yeah. So we've created a really tight knit family and a brotherhood, so to speak. And what's also cool is we've kind of become like the unofficial trans men's house and non-binary house, which there's a huge need for. And as we grow, our goal would be to open up another home, but specifically for lesbians, trans women, and bisexual women, which will.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So there is ideas of expanding and doing more.
Yes. Yeah. So, but that'll hopefully happen sooner rather than later.
Cool. And when we're talking, I'm showing folks.
Cool.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh,
yeah. So, and then that mural that you see, everything that you see, we hand painted. I can't take any credit for that mural. That was all Andrew. It took him about 24 hours in total. There's our logo. So we put a lot of love into it, and we wanted to create a space where we would want to, get and stay sober. So
this is the Nemo room.
That's Nemo. That was going to be called Orange Creamsicle.
I would dig that. That would be kind of cool. There's the retro room. This is a really beautiful space. I can see. This is
Tootie. That's Tootie.
So, can we talk a little bit about your recovery journey?
Yeah, sure. So it depends on who you ask on whether or not you feel that recovery is like genetics or environment, a combination of the two. So I'm adopted, and I recently, well, I guess it's not recent now, but 5 years ago, I met my biological mother, who is also not actively working a program, but she's also an alcoholic. So I think the turning point for me was I had a, good childhood. 17, my father passed away from Lou Gehrig's disease, and I think that's what was the tipping point for me. And I was in deep addiction between 17 to about 20. And then I did a sober living and I went to treatment, but it wasn't my time. So I don't really count that little stint of sobriety that I had at the time until I nearly lost everything at age 25 and turned my life around, got sober, had a year and a half, thought I was unique and different. Turns out I wasn't. And I went out and nearly burned everything down to the ground. And now I have 5 years. So I think what has helped me get to where I am today is acknowledging that, accepting the fact that I can never drink. That's totally fine. There are 3 versions of myself. There's Joey, who you see today. There's Hoey, who is a whore and just not a good person. And then there's Jose, who's the devil. So there are qualities of Jose, for instance, that I now use in who I am today, like not being someone's doormat or sticking up for myself. But there's a polite way and the correct way of doing that rather than just, burning everybody and every bridge in the way. So anyway, that's my story-ish. I mean, it got, like, everyone's different. It was pretty ugly. But I'm happy that I'm no longer, in it. And now I get to help people who are exactly where I was all those years ago. So
Cool.
I feel like our sober kids.
And Andrew?
See, I'm also an alcoholic. Mine was a slow progression until the end, maybe the last 7 years of drinking. It just really hit me harder. I think it was also what was going on in my life. I wasn't strong enough to kind of see what was. My dad's an alcoholic. my grandfather was an alcoholic, so it was a chain of lifestyle living. But like anyone else, I thought I could handle it. I kept drinking, and then suddenly, couldn't go to work. Suddenly, I couldn't leave the house. Suddenly, I couldn't even get up. Suddenly, I couldn't get out of bed. It was just, losing everything, losing friends, family, all the signs, all the things we hear, all the things we go through, and my life became unmanageable. And it got to a point where I think I accepted it before I stopped drinking. And then just, my mom also was huge part of that said, this is it. We're done. Everyone's cutting you off. Your life is over. Here's a sample of where you're going to live, because that's where you're at. And she drove me to I think it was a sober living or a facility at the time, and it was awful. And I do not want to do that. And that's also part of the reason why we wanted to create something that you would want to go to and get sober, because I do believe that is really helpful, moving into sober living and things like that. But anyway, started going to AA, got a sponsor, did meetings and really hardcore for 3 years, had a therapist, and during that period I just I needed more. I wanted more. I built the structure. I had the layout of AA, and kind of just went over towards therapy and working on what these character defects are. I mean, I just became really interested in human behavior, alcoholism, and why we are who we are and what we do. And I just kind of had a new life and interest in studying who we are and who I am, and working on those. And I think that's kind of what just led me to where I am today. It's just, I just really am interested in our disease, and I don't live life with excuses anymore. And it's unacceptable. Unless it really is an excuse, like I really am sick. I really have a cold, but right. I don't have a red light excuse anymore. I need to go home and drink because I sat in traffic today. You don't ever have to go through that. But anyway,
somebody looked me cross-eyed at work. Let's go get drunk.
That's it. I'm hitting the bar tonight.
Yeah. And there's so much of your stories that resonate. For instance, the things that I learned while I was in my addiction, like how to manipulate situations, now I use that for the good. Like, okay, I can manipulate things for the better. I was like, are you going to be a good witch or a bad witch? Like, let me use this for the better. And let me read out some comments that have popped up. I am adopted too and learned my history and family genetics, origin history of addiction, among other issues going. Yeah. And you can use that as to be a victim, or you can say, okay, I know that this is part of my genes. What am I going to do? And then the other one comment is, I call my different versions of me generations. Gen 1 is the scary version. Gen 2 was pretty bad. But yeah, I think I did that in rehab too. Like, started to compartmentalize the different versions of me so I could manage them better, because they got together and they ganged up. My different version.
Island.
Yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute, like, I created you. How am I the bad guy? There is a question on the board for you guys. It's like, wow, this home looks incredible. How has the neighborhood your home is located in reacted to your home being there?
That is a very good question. So the house is located in Echo Park, which is like a very cool and hip area. And the best way to describe it is, let's say, Brooklyn meets LA. They've been very welcoming. They know exactly who we are and what we're doing at the house. And we're not so the word sober living, one of our goals is to completely change the definition, because yes, there are flop houses that give sober livings just a bad rep, period. So our neighbors know who we are. They love what we're doing. They're very supportive. our guys have curfew every night. They're like, they don't create a ruckus. Like, they're the it's the cleanest house on the block. We don't throw parties like that. So we don't have, what is it called? NIMBYs? Nosy neighbors. Our neighbors love us.
Yes.
Nice. That's always a big help when you have the community, because if you have the community support, it does mentally, when you're going through the process, to know that the community around you is already welcoming you. That's part of the process of going out into the real world. Because I remember where I went, it was very rural, and we had neighbors, but nobody. It was businesses, so nobody really. And a lot of my fellows, when they went back out into the real world, they had a hard time adapting um, to the community again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
That's why we encourage them to get jobs. Not full time right off the bat. Start small. If they're afraid to start working part time, okay, then let's have you work at the local community center. Get to know your community. Talk to them. Help out. Find out what you can do to, help.
Yeah.
And then eventually they'll get a job. We don't want them to bite off more than they can chew before they move in. So.
And I think that's really smart. I mean, you have to learn to ride a bike with the training wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if this makes sense to you. Like, I learned to survive on alcohol and drugs, and I knew how to go to work high and hungover. But the moment that I was clean and sober, I was like, how am I supposed to deal with people now? Like, I don't have alcohol and drugs in front of me to buffer the situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like liquid courage.
Yeah. Obviously, that's probably. We have another question for you.
For me,
I used to tell myself, you're not that big a deal. No one's paying attention to you.
that's what my therapist tells me all the time.
Yeah, well, that's where I got it. Yeah. She was my therapist first.
And then he fired her, and then she's been mine and my secret weapon.
But it's like, nobody knows that you're living a life sober. No one knows that you know what I mean? Just like we knew how to mask being drunk at work or whatever. At the same time, like, nobody knows that I am super anxious and very uncomfortable and sober. Just don't make it a big deal. Just, you know what I mean? I try to remind, like, the newbies, it's just like, calm down. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Don't wear if it's not comfortable to you yet. But that's, I love totally sober.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
What you're saying. Yeah.
It's
like I think there was a couple of months in the beginning when I came back into the real world. I was like, we go to the restaurants. I don't drink. Get that menu away from me.
Yeah.
Like somehow the word wine or beer was going to like attach to me again. and you know what I mean? Like the menu itself was going to get me drunk all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But it was a process, which is, here's another question. Is there a formal process of letting the neighborhood know what your plans were for the home?
No.
Are there civic requirements or anything you have to do?
There are no requirements or rules. I mean, we own the property, so we don't need the neighborhood's permission for it. But what we do, we're part of the Sober Living Network, which is a nonprofit that their sole purpose is to make sure that you are running a quality home. You're not running a flop house. So we are held to higher standards. We're part of a committee, so to speak, and they come and they check and they make sure you're doing everything by the book. There's a certain amount of residents we're allowed to have per bathroom, per refrigerator. Like, we have to follow all these guidelines that the Sober Living Network holds us to. And so we haven't had any issues with having to get pre-approval or anything. And before we decided to open Rainbow Hill Recovery, we were in the process of looking at other homes, and we had all of our great reviews and the articles that have been written about us, the awards that we've won from the Sober Living Network to present to these landlords, showing them, like, this is who we are, this is our reputation. We would love to lease from you for our second location. So we're working on that.
So before I ask you the next question, I want to know, like, I'm sure you didn't just wake up one morning and go, let's have some coffee. Let's open a sober living house.
It was actually kind of like that.
Oh,
the idea of wanting to give back to our community has always been something that Andrew and I have shared. But as far as like the idea of just doing it, it literally was a thought like that. Like if you don't see something that is already out there, just do it yourself. And we had the opportunity to do that. And Andrew was actually the one who planted that seed, not me, it was him. About wanting to help people who wanted to help themselves. A lot of our friends were just complaining and whining about, oh, my life is so horrible, this, that.
Help me get sober,
yeah,
and
well,
then
do something about it. Don't whine.
and then you get sober, and then they're your best friend during that time, and then suddenly, where'd they go? Oh, they're out partying again, and it's like, see ya.
It's almost insulting.
Yeah, it's just life suckers, really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I get. I totally.
we wanted to be around people that wanted help too, and that were putting the effort in.
And I totally believe that aside from the sobriety or the no drugs aspect of it, it's about wanting to be better. Like I credit the courts because I had to go to court and that's how I got into sobriety. But it was also the willingness. Once I got to that point where I was in front of the judge, and I think I told you all that story. It's like they were like a year in jail or 3 months in rehab. And I thought about it. I was like, like what kind of jail are we talking about? Like, is it like Oz jail, like HBO? And they're like, no, it's not. That's not where you're going. And I was like, But at that moment, I had a decision. Are you going to continue on this path that is getting you nowhere? It's the hamster wheel. Or are you ready to really just, even if you're afraid, are you willing to make some changes to better yourself? And I think that's where it, like, and like Six like, we want the same type of people on them. We have another question for you. How has this gorgeous home been made possible? Did you have to apply for grants, loans, donations? Did you form a foundation or a nonprofit?
No. We've done it, the two of us.
Wow.
We did pretty well with real estate. So we put everything on red, so to speak.
Wow.
And just took a gamble.
Yeah.
That might be the addictive behavior in us. But
yeah, probably.
We're like very,
all of that.
All of it.
Impulsive.
But as far as a nonprofit, yes. So I started a nonprofit. It's unrelated to Rainbow Hill Recovery and Rainbow Hill Sober Living. It's called Big Little Bows, and it's a 501c3 that I am so excited to finally focus a lot of my attention on, and it's going to help so many people in our community, especially adolescents between 15 to 17. And the premise of the nonprofit, which is to have mentorship programs. So we'll have gay men, trans men and women, and non-binary individuals mentoring youth who are 15 to 17 who are actively working a program. And selfishly, I came up with the idea when I was like, it would have been really cool to have somebody like myself mentor me when I was 17 and going through all this shit. Yes, I wasn't ready at 17, but this is for teens who are ready. So, and then with that, the donations will be able to help individuals get into LGBT affirming or exclusive homes, because sober livings cannot bill insurance unless they're attached to a program. So with our home, it's a standalone sober living, and it's going to remain a standalone sober living. So we work on a sliding scale. We've sponsored residents and we'll continue to sponsor residents. So this nonprofit will help others get into homes. So,
well, you can definitely count on Little Mexican Productions Inc. to help with your nonprofit in any way we can. I think that's something that both Christian and I would be really honored to participate in. And I came out when I was 17, so and got into drinking pretty soon after that. So yes, anything we can do to help, please let us know. One thing that I wonder, like, because Christian, my partner, and I, we're both business partners and life partners. How is it working with each other and dealing with things on a daily basis?
We work amazingly well together. Like Andrew said, we don't know any different. I will let them in on a little secret. I think we told you, but the only thing that we really fight about is me not wanting to do the dishes. which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
Either there's something really wrong
Yeah,
with us.
it's really funny because we never really fight. We never really have.
It's about like cleanliness, and that's it.
You know, and we've bought a home together. We've done all the things that cause, you know, major breakup, really
Arguments
stressful escrows. You know, starting businesses, in real estate ourselves, working on a project together, and we've been through all the things that cause divorces, right? But we will argue about dishes.
I just don't want to do them.
I mean, I think we relate. And for anybody out there watching, it might sound annoying, but yeah, Christian and I have, I think the most is like, what do you want for dinner kind of thing. It's like, that is my pet peeve. It's like, just make a decision. Like, what do you want?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Me too. That's the question with the question, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I ask, what do you want for dinner?
I don't know. What do
And
you
then I
want?
get an answer. What do you want for dinner? I'm like, that's not what I'm asking.
The biggest fight, and I feel like we're in couples therapy right now, but the biggest fight we had recently was I was doing a TikTok and he was being annoying, and I called him annoying on TikTok, and he got upset, and then we got upset, and then we fought for like 5 minutes, and then I was like, okay, so do you want dinner or not? Like, what's gonna I get that we're fighting, but I still have to eat. So are you want
Exactly.
food? Like, where are we? And then we were over it a little bit. So yeah.
That's Joey's strong point. He'll always, you know, we'll argue, and then 2 seconds later, I love you.
yeah. I mean, we're like, I'm not
What are you
going
arguing
anywhere.
about?
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. So you might as well make up because this is not going. Yeah. So I was thinking about this earlier. So this is a process that you've been through, and now you work and you have the home. Do you influence what happens in the home with what you know? Do you have to separate? Okay, now I'm not a resident, I'm the owner of the business. Like, how is the dynamic with residents and you?
The best way to describe our relationship with our residents is that they are like our sober children. Mentoring, we look after them. We always have their best interests at heart, and some of them whose parents are responsible for them, they trust us, so we aren't always going to be their best friend. Of course we'd love for them to all adore us and love us, and they're great, but if we have to make, you know, decisions, we have to stick by it. That goes anywhere from like curfew. What happens if somebody relapses? We have 3 non-negotiables. No matter how much we care about a resident, if they break any of these 3 rules, they will not be welcome back in Rainbow Hill Sober Living or another location of Rainbow Hill Sober Living. And the reason for that is because we have rules in place. And the first of which is to never come home under the influence, don't involve another resident while you're actively using, and do not turn off your location. So those are just rules we cannot waver on.
So there's a lot of structure.
There's a lot of structure. And when we have to be tougher than we'd like, we do. I'm the sober mom of the house, and she's the sober dad. And then we have 2 managers.
Yeah, they literally call us mom and dad.
Yeah, so. They're home.
Make your bed.
But I guess there's nothing better than to have been through the process to know what works and what doesn't, so that you can build your foundation the best way you know how. It's kind of like like me having gone through cancer. Mm-hmm. Like it's hard for somebody who hasn't been through it to explain to people what chemo and radiation feels like. So I can relate to that. That's pretty cool. For everybody watching, we're halfway through our show. We're speaking with Joey Bachrach and Andrew Fox from Rainbow Hill Sober Living. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you've been through the process before, maybe you're watching and you're there now, let us know what you think during the conversation. All of a sudden, just all the messages pop up. We have another comment on here. I cannot imagine at this stage anything possible being relationship ending at 11 years. Oh, he's talking about us. True love, as corny as it sounds, conquers all. Yeah, you gotta love. And you gotta love what you do too. I mean, you've already been through your real estate job. Do you continue to do real estate, or has
we both still have our licenses? If we have friends or families who are looking to buy or sell, we're happy to do that, but that's not where our passion or our heart is anymore. It's really weird.
It's more of a hobby.
It's more of a hobby for
Yeah.
us now, real estate. But
Well.
but
We
something
we
about
buy into houses as a hobby.
it's a hobby. It's a hobby. You need to buy a house, sure.
But we love, redesigning and making a house look beautiful. So
Yeah.
it's fun for us. It's kind of like, rebuilding a car at the same time. It's
But
fun.
prettier,
It's fun
prettier.
for us, but prettier. Yeah,
Prettier.
So between us three, what has been the hardest part from foundation to now?
Honestly, the hardest part would be the more we give sometimes, it feels the more some take. And some of our residents in the past who we were rooting for don't talk to us anymore, which is, it sucks because we pour a lot of ourselves into everyone who lives there. But we just have to remember, we can't make anybody do something. We can only provide them the best possible options and hope they go for it. And we like to plant seeds, healthy seeds, water them, watch them grow, never take credit for that for them. So they will not be watching this. Need to know our tricks. And I think that's been the hardest is, pouring ourselves into some of our residents and then, feel like our kids. So it stings a little bit.
Yeah. But they do start to come back around. It's just like children, it's like it's during their teenage years. It's like, I don't want to, ever talk about where I lived again or my parents again, but then circle back around and they're like, I really owe you guys a lot for what you did for me. And so,
which we got from somebody,
that's
recently,
exactly
from
what I
a
was
year and a
thinking.
half ago. So it was nice, but sometimes it takes a little bit more time and patience.
Yeah, and I think it falls back because I remember folks that I went through in 2007 that all of a sudden came back and just badmouthed everything that was done and didn't
Right.
appreciate it, and then we would bump into each other and they're like, so like, have you relapsed? I'm like, no, I'm still going. And they were like, oh, and all of a sudden their whole attitude changes. But for me, I think it's the whole mirror concept, the whole, like, you see what you want or what you're missing, or you see a good reflection. And when I bump into somebody who is not, I guess, and for everybody out there, this is not like a put down for anybody whatsoever. But when you see somebody, you're like, man, you're really not living up to the potential that I feel you have. And then they see you thriving, that mirror reflects the negativity that's in their lives. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
And it really,
my mother-in-law is on.
so proud of you too, Mama Fox.
Yeah, my mother-in-law.
Where?
Right there.
Oh, Mama Fox.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody who calls herself Mama Fox is welcome.
She's in my phone as Mama Fox.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So there you go. She's watching the show. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you watching. Do you ever, watching people come through your home, do you ever like have to sit down and like reassess yourself, like balance, center, ground yourself?
Ourselves?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, does it, you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about the mirror effect. You're watching somebody and you're like, whoa, like I just saw my demons pop up.
No. Oh, for me personally, we want them to.
Oh, you mean like being triggered of our
Yeah,
own?
not in any way pushed, triggered.
Oh no, me not at this point. No.
We like being like the first face they see, and then the last face they see when they move out. And also something that's special about our home is that everybody who lives there has been voted into the house. We get calls all the time from people wanting to move in, but then realizing that they wouldn't be a good fit because they aren't taking their sobriety seriously, or their parents want them to go to sober living, and the client doesn't want to be in there. So everybody who's in the house wants to be there. And then after that point, that's when we'll introduce them, any potential resident, to interview with them, and then they get voted onto the hill or not. And if they don't, we always refer them out to an LGBT affirming place, not friendly.
I guess that's the difference between you want to come here,
Mhm.
and places where it's like court ordered, or this is part of your probation, or like you want to walk in there and be part of the process.
And even if you are court ordered, they would, like anybody else, interview.
Yeah.
And we've had residents on
You just-
probation in
if
the
you-
past.
Yeah.
Welcome. They just want to be there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
So we have another question for you before we go into the last segment. Does a renovation like this have to meet different building standards than, say, a consumer home flip? What advice would you offer someone who wishes to open a similar home but is new to it all?
So no renovations like that. If you're doing renovations, you have to go by the city and apply for the correct permits. That's a city thing. And then
What advice would you give somebody?
who wishes to open up a similar home?
I would reach out to the Sober Living Network,
Exactly.
and they have the full step by step what you need to do to open a sober living.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So for anybody out there,
And then we
you're
can come out.
Yeah, and then we could come out.
We come out and check, and I mean, people,
give
other
you some
homes.
helpful hints and tricks and things that work, things that don't. But yeah, there are a lot of standards. You need to have Narcan on site, and all the proper fire extinguishers and escape routes, and enough refrigerators and things like that. But that is, you go through a course at Sober Living Network, and it's
And I do feel like you're in a different league of other residential homes that I know about, and other sobriety homes. Like you're really, like, not because you're on the show, but I really feel like you're at a different space. There's because I mean, I've only been to one, but I visited others through my years, and the energy just feels different. So take that as it is.
Thank you. I think what we would, bigger picture, we would like to set the standard of what a sober living should be. And instead of saying sober living, it'd just be a sober home. Because I can talk for hours about how my blood boils with flop houses and people wanting to open up sober livings for the wrong reasons.
You don't have to do anything at all. You could just have people move into your house and collect rent and call it a sober living. But there aren't any standards or structures or UAs and drug testing, and you know what I mean. So that gives us a bad name.
I'm sorry. So this would be a good segue question. Are there any internal programs you offer to the residents to help the residents maintain or achieve their sobriety?
So,
if yes, then how have you done this?
So that's a really good question. Sober livings, standalone sober livings especially, are not allowed to provide any sort of treatment. At the end of the day, a sober living is a group of individuals who live under one roof, who happen to live as a sober family, essentially. So in order to answer that question, we do refer out to IOP programs, and they have their sponsors. They have their own therapists,
doctors,
their own care team.
Yeah.
And then we provide the house and the home and the family. If that answers the question.
Yeah. So within your space, do you have workshops or support?
We do sound baths every other Sunday, which is a fun thing that the guys like to do. They get all zenned out. We do house activities. They go to Six Flags for gay days or family style brunch.
We're gonna have a family barbecue on the 8th.
July 8th.
It's a big party,
4th, which will be fun. And then we have recommendations for therapists and psychiatrists that anybody from our house is able to utilize.
Yeah. And then we partner up with other people that we work with or together, other houses, and they all join together for events and things like that.
Gotcha.
That's a whole.
So although you don't offer the treatment side, there is exercises, workshops, things that you can do together. Because even, I mean, people don't know this, but when you're in a setting like that, when I was going through my rehab, we had, like, I was kitchen manager, and every Friday mornings after breakfast, we cleaned the kitchen. And that for me was a work. I mean, now that I look back, I'm like, that was a workshop. Not only were they teaching me how to be a leader in sobriety and manage a group of people, clean the kitchen. But then I had to assign people to cook, and people learned to cook things. And I had to, sometimes everybody that went through the house learned how to make Mexican rice. They all learned Mexican rice.
He's really good at making Mexican rice.
So, and eventually I taught people how to make cookies and how to make guacamole, which was like so basic. But I feel now that although it seemed like a chore and some people were like, it was a workshop because you learn to work together, how to follow directions sober, how to teach somebody, and how to be on the receiving end of the information. Because I know when I was in my addiction, I thought I knew everything, and it took the process of getting sober and clean to learn how to listen to people and know that I didn't know everything. And so now that I look back, I'm like, I see what they did there.
Clever. And yes, they do have words.
Yep.
Sneaky, aren't they?
Yeah.
Sneaky. For everybody watching, we are, this is put together a live stream. My guests today are Joey Bachrach and Andrew Fox from Rainbow Hill Sober Living. We're sharing some information. We've got some more information to do. But part of our show is about now I ask my guests to share some words of wisdom with our audience. So, Joey and Andrew, what words of wisdom would you like to share?
Okay.
Just say no.
Just say no.
Okay, Nancy, thank you. Show's over.
So something that has kept me sober today is knowing that my altered versions of myself when I was drinking and using, so Hoey and Jose, are never ever really going to be dead. They are dormant, and it keeps me in check knowing that it may not take 1 drink, 2 drinks, a month of drinking, who knows, but it's gonna be my downfall if I drink. So that's my words of wisdom. They're dormant, not dead.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this earlier, but mine is always excuses. Pay attention to where it's coming from, back it up to where it started with you, even if it also arguments. Find your part in everything, and when you find your part in what a situation, say you have an argument with 2 people, even if it's not your fault, try and back it up to where it started with you. And then that's where you learn and grow from, like, okay, well, so this is what I'm going to work on. And maybe this is how I came off. And so I always back it up to me and just see where my fault was and where I did wrong. And then excuses. Just it's pretty simple for me. But I know that when I start throwing out a bunch of excuses, I'm like, okay, time to check yourself. Take a break, get some sleep.
Eat.
Don't
hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah.
Check yourself. I mean, they're there for a reason. We just kind of forget to use them sometimes. And I can honestly say that at 16, there are times that I forget the basics of what I was taught because I think I got it all. I figured it all. And then all of a sudden the universe is like, Garza, check yourself.
Yeah.
So
that's also been another part for me. I'm 13, so it's also been a good part for me to be reminded of with the sober living and hanging out with everyone at the house. It's like, so many things that I forgot about that are just part of my life, but need to be reminded from now, time and time again. One day at a time. I mean, who knew? That's what we do with opening this business now. It's like, okay, it's all gonna be fine, just one day at a time.
Yeah.
Although it's for everybody watching, all those sayings that you hear in meetings or in groups or in therapies, I know you don't want to hear this, but they're there for a reason. They were created for a reason. And I finally, somewhere between 1 and 4 years old into it, I was like, Garza, stop trying to recreate the wheel. Just write it. And like, there was no point. Like, you don't have to reinvent sobriety, or just live it. And it's so much more fun. I mean, that's why we're this district. Let me show the links. So if you want more information, go to rainbowhillsoberliving.com for all the information. That's the website we were pulling up right now. If you want to follow them on Instagram, we've got 2 pages for y'all. We've got the Instagram for Rainbow Hill Recovery, And we've got the page for Rainbow Hill Sober Living. So make sure you go check those out. Follow both of them. I want to show this picture because it was sent to me by Andrew, and I really like this picture. Let me take this banner off first and give credit where credit is due. But this was such a cool picture. Can you tell us about this picture a little bit?
Yeah, so that was for our photo shoot for the Fight magazine that came out in May of this year. And it was just a nice piece that was written about who we are, why we do what we do, and how we are opening, or at the time we were opening, now we are officially open, Rainbow Hill Recovery. So it was, I do love that photo. It's so cute.
It's a good picture. And you were telling me that this is you're sitting where you took the pictures.
Yeah. And right now we're using it as a mouse pad because we don't have mouse pads.
It's been our backdrop, as you can tell.
We just happen to have the magazine right here.
No, really though, it's exactly where our mouse pad is.
Oh wait, where'd this come from? Yeah.
Oh
So
my God, where did this magazine come
what's
from?
this little thing?
Is that us on the cover? Whatever. I've used that trick before too. Whatever.
It's a great mouse.
But I was going to show something. Oh yeah, the banner. So this is what we've been talking about today, right? Rainbow Hill Recovery. Is that correct? This is the one that's opening, or the one that opened? The one that's opening.
The one opening. The one that opened on Monday of last week.
The Monday of last week, and I'm really excited because I've been invited by Joey and Andrew to be at their launch on Friday.
Away.
So for those of you watching, they've given me permission to do a live stream of the presentation. So if you're following us here right now and you're on YouTube, I didn't even say my opening at the beginning. That's how nervous I was today, just to put it out there. For anybody watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and Twitter, make sure you follow us. But if you're on YouTube, scroll down, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Once you hit that bell, it'll let you know. And on Friday, they've allowed me to bring my cameras and record the presentation for their opening. So we'll be there. Little Mexico Productions Inc. will be there. What can we expect on Friday?
A lot of color.
Nice.
And yeah, well, a lot of color. Our without giving too much away, our goal was to make a fun and creative space for a treatment center and not have it be the step and repeat of being sterile. So there's a theme, and the hint that I'll give you is that it's on brand with our name, Rainbow Hill Recovery. So one color behind us, and you can guess what other colors we have.
And it'll be a good time, food, entertainment. It's gonna
just
be
really good people.
Really good people.
Everyone who we've invited are people from other programs and sober livings who welcomed us with open arms when we were the new kids on the block, showed us, a lot of, this is how things are done, this is who you should meet, we'll take you under our wing, and really have supported us from the beginning. So
We may have a sound bath.
And the sound bath. It's good to know that people, like, you were embraced, and then folks were like, "Hey, let's build you up," which is really what the program is about. Any program you go to should be about building us up and not tearing us down.
Well, there have been a few who have tried tearing us down. An individual in particular who tried doing that when we first opened, before we even had a client. But to each their own. But yeah, we want to celebrate our growth with people who have been with us from the start.
Nice. Well, I believe when it comes from the heart and it's pure light, it will shine through the darkness, and you can find the negative Nancy's out there. No offense to any Nancy. My sister's name's Nancy, but she doesn't watch this show all the time. So, I remember good old Uncle Roy G-Bib. I don't know the reference, but I'll ask him in a minute. Anyway, for everybody, this is my boyfriend Christian. So yeah. Any last comments before we go, guys?
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Now you get your driver's license in sobriety.
Yeah.
Give your quinceañera.
Well, I didn't get to do. I was so busy. I didn't get to prep what I wanted for my 16th. But for anybody who follows me on Instagram, you can go and scroll down to last year. Oh, it's the color of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow.
Oh,
You have to come into the room and tell me what it was.
like who is, I
That's how bad of a gay I am. I don't even know.
was like, who's that?
Yes, Andy. Thank you. Now we figured. All of a sudden, the gay mafia is going to come in and take my card away. Like, you are out of the group. Go back to being straight, Garza. But yes, anybody who's following me on Instagram, I invite you, go scroll down. You will find my picture with my quinceañera dress on there. And thank you. And I'll show it to y'all on Friday when I see you. Well, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you being my birthday interview. This has been really great.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And
I will see you
Friday.
Friday. Yeah. And for those of you that are going to be there Friday who are watching, I'm bringing my cards. So we'll be doing some card readings early in the evening. So get there early so you can get your card readings. And then for those of you watching, we'll be live streaming the speeches and the presentation. And remember, Wednesdays, we have Christian and Daniel show. On Fridays, Zodiacs will be back soon. Saturdays, we're back at noon with Put It Together live stream. So join us. And if you're not following me on all my social media pages, please do. You can find my horoscopes every Monday morning. So go check those out. For more information, just reach out to us. For now, I want to thank Joe and Andrew for being my very, very special birthday guests today. And I want to thank all of y'all for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.